Aloha kiddos, we got 1.3 here. This looks like page 14, using midpoints and distance formula. We'll go over this in class. Don't write this in. You're copying these from down below. Here you've got your little midpoint. There's your segment bisector. Write them in, guys. Remember, writing things down helps you remember them. That's one of the reasons we do it. This is a little note here. Usually we don't call a midpoint a segment bisector. It's called a midpoint. The segment bisector goes through the midpoint. This book also calls a midpoint a segment bisector. That comes up. Always include these marks on the diagram. If you have a midpoint or a segment bisector, mark the congruent segments on there. If you have the congruent segments, they're telling you there's a midpoint. Fill these in. Okay, if L is a segment so I just mentioned again here, a segment bisector intersects the segment at the midpoint K. K is this point of intersection right there. You won't always see the little point mark there, but we know that two lines intersect in a point, so we know that that's a point even if it's not marked. So K refers to that point there. Let's get rid of that. Why isn't that going away? There we go. Hopefully that didn't take too much away. So if L, and that would be line L, I probably should have said that, is a segment bisector of XM, then K is a blank. I'll let you think about that. Segment XK is congruent to what segment? And 3, the distance of segments XK is equal to what segment? So think about those for a second. Pause this. I'm going to write them in right now, so pause it. So there we got our answers. Also, don't forget in your diagram, go in there, mark those segments that are congruent. That's going to be really important later, kids. I can't tell you how much important marking your diagrams is for answering questions. Okay, the next page goes over the formulas. First, we've got the midpoint formula here. Okay, they say it's just the averages of the x-coordinates. That's more the word we use for that nowadays, if my pen would write properly, is means. My pen just doesn't want to write. Something's bogging this computer down. Okay. Let's see if we solve the lagging problem. So the midpoint formula, add up the two x coordinates, divide by 2, add up the two y coordinates, divide by 2. That's right there. That's all that is. It doesn't look like my little tries worked here. Over here, labeling, the green, you can label this either way, x1, y1, x2, y2, or the orange, x2, y2, x1, y1. Doesn't matter. Both of them will work. The quote marks here mean same as above. The midpoint is the mean of the x-coordinates and the mean of the y-coordinates. Not averages, mean is a better word to use there. Distance formula comes from the Pythagorean theorem, which we'll write this way, not the way your teachers taught you that I crossed out up there. But it's related to that. Then we would just square root it here, and that's where you get that formula. We'll talk more about that when we go over the square root. I kind of show that right here too. But that's not important. We don't even really need this. Take that away. Over here, I got simplifying a square root. Break it into two numbers. 75 is 25 times root 3. Root 25 times root 3. Square root of 25 is 5. We only break it down so you can actually take a square root. So I wouldn't do like 5 times 15 here. 5 times 15 is 75. I can't take square root of 5. I can't take a square root of 15. try it on the 45. The two ways of doing this here are just for the two ways I labeled it, which I showed up above here. X2, Y2, X1, Y1 is in the blue. X1, Y1, X2, Y2 is in the green. Quite frankly, I usually use the blue method. Most other people use the green one. Okay, so in this example here, fill in these blanks, complete these examples. I got some of the steps in there. You should get these numbers, that number, which can't be reduced. Over here I have simplifying square roots. Square root is 75, square root of 25 times root 3. Did I already say that? I can't remember. So we'll find out that later. Oh well, but this is how you reduce a square root. This one's filled in if I didn't say that. I can't remember. I've shot this a few too many times. Getting confused. Sorry. Notice scrambled answers. I lost a couple of things here. This is just so laggy. Oh, what's going on here? This is so slow. Those lines are supposed to separate the answers. These are the first three, 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and so on. So answer these. Notice segment bisector includes midpoints. Most books don't call a segment bisector a midpoint. This one does. Always use the largest option, i.e. a segment is larger than a point, a line is larger than a ray, so use your largest option. Number 2, identify the segment bisector. I want my red. I want this to actually work at a reasonable pace too. Come on, and pause. This isn't working right. Okay, I think I cured my laggies. I don't know what this box is for, so let's get rid of it. Number 2 here. Identify the segment bisector of segment AB, then find the length of segment AB. That's how you read that notation. AB with the bar above it, that's segment AB. Then find the length of segment AB. Okay, so here, M would be a bisector. It's not the largest one. The best answer for my segment bisector is ray MC. M's a point, C's a point. I can use those in naming it. Okay? And if this piece is 8, this one has to be 8 for that to be a midpoint. They have to be equal. 8 and 8 gives me 16. There's my answer up there. That's looking good. Ray MC and 16. Okay. Identify the segment. Let me clear this off a little bit here. Identify the segment bisector, then find the length of segment EF. Okay, well, my segment bisector is going to be M, or point M, and the distance, I got to find it for X. Well, these two are equal, are congruent. EM equals FM. 3x minus 4 equals 5x minus 12. Use your awesome algebra skills here. Subtract 3x from each side. Whoops. Minus 12. Plus 12. Plus 12. 8 equals 2x. Divide by 2. You see I'm running out of room. I mentioned it over here. Use scratch paper if needed. Okay, and that leaves us 4 equal to x. I got to plug that in. 3 times 4 minus 4, that's 12 minus 4 for 8. That's 8. 5 times 4 minus 12, that's 20 minus 12. That also gives me 8. 8 plus 8 gives me 16. So EF is equal to 16. There's my answer. I forgot to circle it up there. And there's an M and a 16. Endpoints of PQ are given. So I'm given the endpoints. I need to find the coordinates. So my midpoint, which is XM, YM, is equal to x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. There's an x1, y1. There's an x2. That's pretty ugly, isn't it? x2, y2. So my point here I'm just thinking about the notation of this. You could also put the M outside of that too. So this is going to, our midpoint, because we call that M. That's going to equal, what do we have? Negative 2 plus 10 over 2. And notice how we're running out of room already again here. 7 plus negative 3 over 2. That's going to give me 8. M is going to be 8 over 2 and 4 over 2. So my midpoint is 4 comma 2. I'll show you this notation in the next one. You need it. And there's 4 comma 2. So I was going to do this one here. This time they give us one midpoint and one endpoint. So we're going to use that formula a little bit more there. We're going to use the midpoint, which is XM, YM equals x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. So we're going to have negative 9 over 2 and 7 gives us, well, we don't know x2. That's our second point. So I got 2 plus x2 over 2, and I got, what is it, 16 plus y2 over 2. So now this is where it gets a little tricky. This has to equal this. This has to equal this. You get two equations there. So I'm going to have negative 9 over 2 equals 2 plus x2 over 2. And then I'm also going to have 7 equals 16 plus y2 over 2. Oh, I hate these fractions. So let's get rid of them. Just multiply by 2 or 2 over 1. It's the same thing. They reduce out. Negative 9 equals 2 plus x2 minus 2 minus 2. Negative 11 equals x2. And k is going to be our other endpoint is going to be x2, y2. So this is k over here, if you're curious. This is j. Running out of time here, so let's finish this up. Hey, get rid of that fraction the same way. Just multiply by 2, multiply by 2. 16 plus y2. I forgot to mark those canceled. Minus 16 minus 16. I get negative 2 is equal to y2. That means my point k is negative 11, negative 2. Let's go up here and check. Cool. There's my answer. Well, that uses about my 15 minutes on this video. Have a good day.